The Stone of Destiny, the Stone of Scone, the Coronation Stone, the Westminster Stone, or the Stone of Jacob are all the one and the same thing. It has returned to Perth in Scotland. Some would say it's home, after over 700 years of absence. Or has it? This stone is surrounded by myths and legends, and the journey between where it is now, Perth Museum, and where it once stood, Moot Hill, Scone Palace, is just a short car journey away. During this journey, some myths and legends about this stone will be explored. There is just enough time. Storytelling is a valid method of passing on information through the ages. The stuff of myths and legends. In some parts of the world, it's the only way the past can be remembered. The story of the stone, some say, starts way before King Edward I, Hammer of the Scots, even entered the scene to steal the stone and take it to England. The earliest of these stories starts over 3,000 years ago in the Holy Land, where this legend describes the stone as once being used by the biblical figure Jacob, who used it as a pillow, and during a dream he witnessed the angels ascending into heaven. Another part of this legend suggests that this stone was anointed and became the pedestal for the Ark of the Temple of Solomon, meaning that the stone was linked to the Ark of the Covenant. The legend goes that this stone was taken to Ireland by the prophet Jeremiah. It was taken to Dalriada, a Gaelic kingdom that encompassed the western seaboard of Scotland and the northeastern seaboard of Ireland, to be used as a coronation stone for the kings of Dalriada. It is then associated with St Columba, who took the stone to Iona as a portable altar. In AD 574, the stone was used as a coronation chair when Columba anointed and crowned Aidan, the king of Dalriada. The stone thereafter was kept by monks of Iona, the traditional home of the Scottish Celtic Church, until Viking raiding caused them to move it to the mainland, first to Dunkeld and then to Scone. This instinct to protect the stone is also part of another legend surrounding the stone. Another legend suggests that there is a strong possibility that the monks at Scone Palace did actually switch the original Stone of Destiny when Edward I of England approached to take it in 1296, much the same as their predecessors before them. The legend states that the monks, realising that Edward was coming, quickly made a switch and replaced the original stone with a copy. This was likely done because the stone was held to be a sacred artefact used in the coronation of Scottish kings, and the monks wanted to prevent Edward from taking the original. In 1296, Scotland was ravaged by Edward I. He travelled to Scone Palace in Perthshire with his army and dragged off the large sandstone block. It has been suggested that the metal rings seen on the stone were attached by his soldiers in order to remove it. Thereafter, the stone was installed under a specially designed throne in Westminster Abbey. At the time, confident that it was the Stone of Destiny, a sacred artefact going back through millennia that had been used in the coronation of Scottish kings since Kenneth MacAlpine in AD 843. In June 1914, the stone was in the vicinity of an attack by suffragettes as part of their campaign. The story goes that about 5:40 p.m. one evening, a bomb exploded inside Westminster Abbey, while many visitors and worshippers were still within the abbey. The bomb damaged the coronation chair and it detached small fragments of stone. In the early hours of Christmas Day, December of 1950, 4 University of Glasgow students, Gavin Vernon, Ian Hamilton, Alan Stewart and Kate Matheson, were in Westminster after driving down from Scotland. They had broken into the abbey and recaptured the Stone of Destiny from underneath the coronation chair. During the repatriation process, the stone was broken. Apparently, in rescuing the stone, it was dragged along the abbey floor on a coat that 2 of the men pulled behind them, and a piece weighing around 40 kilograms from the 152 kilogram stone broke off. The broken piece, carried by Ian Hamilton, was the first piece to make it to the first getaway car at Fort Anglia. The other two men, Gavin and Alan, fled without the larger section. Ian then realised that he did not have the keys to their second car, so had to return inside the abbey to get them from the coat. Working single-handedly, he managed to get the larger piece into the boot of the second car. Leaving the abbey around dawn, he travelled southeastwards and surprisingly came upon his two compatriots, Gavin and Alan, in the Old Kent Road. They headed southwards towards Kent. When the stone was discovered missing, the border between Scotland and England was closed. This was the first time this had happened in over 400 years. The Metropolitan Police also sent officers to Scotland to try and recover the stone. In reality, however, the stone went in the other direction. On New Year's Eve, Ian, Gavin and Alan travelled to Rochester in Kent to recover the stone from where they had buried it, only to find a traveller encampment at the site. Undeterred, they managed to talk them into helping get the stone into the boot of the car. When the stone was returned to Scotland, it was handed over to members of the Scottish Covenant Association. In the intervening months, the largest part of the stone had been hidden under the floorboards of a factory in Bonnybridge. The second part was hidden in Birmingham. The two parts were put back together by a stonemason using copper tubing. The stone was returned some 4 months later, being found in Arbroath Abbey after a deliberate tip-off from the group. In 1996, the Queen and the then Prime Minister John Major agreed that the stone should be returned to Scotland and displayed along with other Scottish regalia in Edinburgh Castle. On the 30th November 1996, St Andrew's Day, over 10,000 people lined the Royal Mile in Edinburgh to witness the return of the stone to Scotland for the first time in over 700 years. In 2023, the stone was once again returned to Westminster Abbey for the coronation of King Charles III. But thereafter it was placed in the new Perth Museum, where it would be kept just a few miles from its original home, with the agreement that it will return south for future coronations. In deciding what the true story may be, there are fascinating accounts all over the internet to review. The story of an origin in the Holy Land is flawed, in part, as the predominant stone type there is limestone, not the locally quarried Perthshire sandstone that the current stone tested as. But what about the switch by the monks? If they did change the stone, where is the real stone now? Some information suggests that it was taken to the Outer Hebrides. The Isle of Skye is also specifically mentioned. There is one further account from a newspaper article in 1819 where the Morning Chronicle and several other newspapers reported that while clearing out the remains of Macbeth's castle, part of the ground gave way and several men fell into an underground chamber. This vault was 6 feet long and 4 feet wide. When they started to clear the chamber, they discovered a large stone of meteoric or semi-metallic kind. Beside the stone they found 2 round tablets with the inscription, "The shadow of kingdom come, until the sylphs in air carry me again to Bethel." This may be a reference to the place of origin of Jacob's pillow, Bethel, or House of God. Macbeth's reign as the King of Scotland, 1040 to 1057, predates the stone swap, but the Cynon isn't that far away, and the stone had to be hidden somewhere.